And welcome to the Nerds on Hip Hop podcast. This podcast is about the intersection of hip hop and nerd life. Tenchi Muyo, Busta Rhymes, Resident Evil, and this guy are all fair game. And if you know any of these names, welcome.
There are four main parts. We first review our weeks in nerd and hip hopdom, then we explore a theme through our hip hop and nerd influences. At the end, we ask ourselves a question and then open up to your questions.
Officially welcome to the first episode of 2018 of Nerds on Hip Hop. I am the Wolves Den, and I have my legendary co-host.
Yay! It's Victoria, aka Miss Old School.
Vicky Tsukino.
Vicky Tsukino now, officially. And yeah, this is our first episode of the year. How crazy.
I know. This is what people do when they level up in life. I feel like this is like a Zelda game where you wait 5 years because they just got new technology. I feel like that's what your life just became. It's like, this is N64 to GameCube life.
It might be. I don't know. I mean, I have a new job. We're using our mics and we're trying out Zencaster for the first time, just so you guys know. Yeah, we're a lot of new things. You're a few months closer to a doctorate degree.
Do we have to do that to me?
I mean, you are.
Like, you're not wrong, but that it makes it life feels way more scary when you bring that up.
I would think you'd want to like get close. I don't know.
I mean, I want to, but it's like I'm in limbo now. Like I finished up course. Yeah, you'll hear the rest of this like weird life story later.
All right, let's talk about something more, I guess, upbeat. So what have you been doing in nerddom?
Oh, I have been playing Bravely Second, and oh my gosh, this game is amazing. Like, I feel like I've been playing it for like I don't know how long, but there are two things with this game that comes to mind a lot. They've made a world that is just so lived in, and it is meticulously crafted. Like, at the end of the first game, I beat it. I didn't take the long route because, dear God, that game can be long. So I took what is supposed to be like the short exit of the game. And I did that because of my time thing. But in the middle of that process, you realize that they're bucking JRPG tropes from the original game. So it's like, Bravely Second is a JRPG made by Square people who are really looked back at Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3 on the NES and decided to say, let's go back to that. Let's use like the idea of these are the 4 crystals that preserve the world, and let's do a game that kind of plays around with that idea. And it's become very meta in a sense of like you are kind of connected to the game in a weird way. But it's not like Deadpoolish either. And then this game is really heavily alluding to that in the second game, and this is what really makes it interesting. The first one was like, it felt very local. The second game, they add this like whole new dimension of lore and experience where it's like, you feel that they must have written both games at the same time in terms to like bring out the scale, and it's meticulous. And this is going to sound terrible. There are times where I don't want to listen to what they're saying.
Wow.
And add it, but part of it's just like it's just so much, like, and it's not even a bad way. Like, it can get convoluted, but it's also just like sometimes they have these moments where you can like rest in tents before major battles, and it'll be like this story thing, but it's not a story thing. It's more character development. So they're sitting down arguing about food, but it's like also showing stuff about their personalities and who they are and how they play off one another, and those things can be great. But 60 hours where a lot of the conversation can be that is just like, man, it's just too much. Like, it feels like so dense. And then when you start trying to connect the story of the second game back to the first game, and you're like, how did they hide all of this? Like, but it's also like, there are times where I'm just like, man, I actually want to sit down and read through everything again. Like, this is the weird tug and pull from a story perspective. And then this game has like some of the most unusual jobs. Like, there's this thing called the Guardian job, And if I'm playing with a guardian class, I can possess the uh, the uh, the enemies, and then I can fight those other enemies using that enemy, and then I can then repossess my own body at the end, or I could possess my fellow peers' bodies and increase their HP by the same amount of HP. I like stuff I've never seen before.
Like what? Hmm?
Yeah,
What's different? You said there's
go
stuff you've
ahead.
never seen. What's different? You said there's stuff you've never seen.
I mean, that Guardian job I haven't seen. Like, there are games where you can control monsters to possess them and then unpossess them and possess your own characters is something I've never seen before. And then there's this other thing called spellcraft, where it's like a black mage in terms of like you can have access to all the elements. But what do? They raise it to a whole different place where essentially you can alter the way that your spell operates. So you can say that you want to shoot fire as opposed to just using a fire move. You can use a fire mist, and what a mist will do means at the end of every turn for like 5 or 6 turns, they'll get burned by the mist. So you can like have attacks going on after your first
Wow.
attack, or you can have like what they call rain, where it'll randomly target 4 different enemies and then like drop down rain on top of them of fire. And you can do, and then once you master that class, you can now use those craft abilities with different magic. So you can use that with healing magic. You can now use that with like time magic. Like it gets
Hmm.
real complex real
That
quickly.
sounds really cool. Like it feels like RPG, like, but like super RPG.
I like that. Bravely Second, the super RPG.
Right. That's basically it. So for me, I've been reading, I guess the Super Magical Girl series, sort of, kind of,
I
maybe.
mean, there's only one
Um,
Magical Girl series, but whatever.
Sailor Moon.
So, which one have you actually been reading?
I've been reading a manga actually called Magical Girl Special Ops, which is kind of like it's another dark magical girl series, but not quite. It's an interesting like story just because it basically follows like there's these magical monsters who keep appearing on Earth, and so the army essentially makes a task team, a magical girl task team to deal with it. So it's kind of like a magical girl group under the supervision of the army or the government, which I think is interesting because it's kind of like realistic. I want to say, like if this were actually happening,
Just
like
sounds.
when you put it this way, like Sarah Moon's really a vigilante.
I mean, she's also a 15-year-old girl trying not to avoid do her job. So,
Also true, but still a vigilante, technically. And or like most magical girls are kind of like, but even like this kind of reminded me a lot of Madoka Magica, like same thing. But this is kind of like okay, we're like officiating this, like we're actually making this a like a thing.
so
Um,
in this world, does the government know about whatever the evil creatures are? Because that's usually why nobody else gets involved. It's like just this 15-year-old girls know that the world's about to be destroyed. So does the government
um,
actually know?
the government knows. They kind of like will come across something and it's like, oh, this is too much for us to handle. Let's call them these magical girls because they're like specialized in this.
Mm.
So, but I think the cool thing is, even though it's very like tactical and it's like there's guns and then like it's gory, but they still have magical girl transformations, which is like amazing. Um, and then you even have like juxtaposition where there's like a really like one of the characters, she's her power is kind of like about healing and kind of like doctor based in a way, like surgery and
Is
all
she the
that
main
stuff.
character?
No, this is a side character.
Okay.
The main character is kind of just like generic powers. She's really good with guns and just like I don't know generic magic stuff. But so essentially, like, the story too is like there were 5 girls who were originally on this team, and they went into like one mission, and then a bunch of them died. Oh no, there was more than 5. I'm sorry. and they went into this like thing, and then a bunch of them died, and now there's like I can't remember exactly, but it's either like 4 or 5 left. So there's the main girl, and then there's another girl who's kind of has the surgery powers, and then there's another girl who they think might have went like became evil sort of, and they're not sure if it's her or not.
Hmm.
But one of the scenes that really stood out to me was when the surgery girl, she's kind of like this very bubbly character, like just like cries easily, and like cares about things deeply. And
Hmm.
but when they catch somebody, like one of the evil like minions or something, she knows like the main girl doesn't have the heart to torture anybody, so she's like, I'm gonna do it for her because I care about her that much. And she's like
Hmm.
becomes vicious. And it's
Does she become vicious like how we saw? I forgot the blue-haired girl's name from Madoka Magica when she just got started letting herself go.
um I would say more than that, to be honest, because like she's like literally torturing this girl. Like she's like she gives her this serum where she's like, this will like increase all of your nerves to like its highest possibility. And she's like, and I'm gonna like torture you. So you're gonna feel like all the pain. And she's like pushing in her eyes, like it's really
Whew.
like, oh, okay, like this is some real torture. Like it's really crazy. Um, so I think it's just a really interesting, like it just the fact that it was able to like blend these two different genres together, sort of, or just like the idea of making magical girls kind of like this special ops team. I think is really cool.
Can I just be honest with you for a second?
Go for it.
All I can think of is how this feels very much like a dark version of the Dora Milaje. Like it just sounds like a Dora Milaje gone to like the worst parts of the world.
That's hilarious. I think it's because Black Panther's just fresh on our minds because it came out.
Right, but it's like when you say army tactics, I'm like, kind of really does.
I think the only difference is manga they have like guns. So like
Right.
they are not afraid to pick up a gun. So but totally definitely like strong women being badass like the Dora Milaje, which I always love. Which is also the reason why I
How,
love Black Panther.
all right, so we've been holding back for how long? Like,
You know it's crazy. I keep thinking it's been out for a while, but it's really only been a week.
can you? It does. It feels like it's been a year.
It feels like it's been a year. Like I feel, and it's crazy because like everyone I know has seen it at least once, and it just came out a week ago. Like I can't remember any other movie where it's like this much people have seen it already. Like you should be like, oh yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna see it like next week, or I'm waiting for the crowd to die, and everyone's like, no, I need to see it like today, and then they're going back
Yeah, I
again to
know.
see it again.
I have a few friends who need to see it, and I'm just like, whew, ee.
I know it's crazy, but yeah, it was so good. Like it was really, really good. Like I didn't expect it to delve into so much that it did.
I don't know what I expected.
I thought,
Honest,
yeah, I thought it was gonna be more like your general like superhero movie, like one plot where I thought they were gonna focus on the obvious, which is T'Challa rising to the throne and him being young
yeah, you did say
and
that.
like basically Wakandans being like, are you really up to lead right now? You know, like can we really trust you? You know,
Mm,
and him having to prove himself. Because I think that's kind of what the comics, at least the Coates run, is kind of like heavy
I
on
think it's
a little bit.
that's
Mhm.
now I can see why you said that because I feel the coach run is a little different. I feel like the coach run is very much about like, bro, do you even really like us? Like, do you even really like doing
That's
this?
true. That's true. It is more, but I think yeah, like it's that same vein where it's like, you really want to be here? Like, are you really up for this? Like, can we like let's fill you out? You
Mm,
know? Like I thought that, and I thought it was gonna be very. I mean, it was insular to Wakanda, but I thought it was gonna be more like the politics, him like rising to the
mm,
throne, and like that whole thing. But it seemed like everybody was just like, cool, T'Challa's king now, like let's go. Like no questions asked.
Nah.
Like except for Mbaku. But other than that, no one, even him, he was just like, I'm gonna try it, but he wasn't like, completely opposed to T'Challa ruling. He was just
He was
like,
like,
I want to rule.
it was that, and it was also like, word, you're not going. You ask for every other tribe but us. That's how this is going down.
Yeah. That too. Like it was just more like a disrespect thing
Like the
too.
audacity.
How dare you? Jabari tribe ever.
So, man, I don't even know where to start.
But yeah, but I was happy that it was able to like it just touched on so much things. Like it brought in like the relationship between the continent, like Africa, between African Americans, and like that whole like being lost in kind of the diaspora, just the diaspora in general.
Let's talk about how that's the best scene of the film. Like, you know what? Yeah, that scene when he comes when Killmonger has his ancestral plane
Mm-hmm.
moment, and they're like there's so many things going on there from a visual standpoint. I hate the world. That's just too perfect. No, like I still think that's like every time I think about Black Panther, that is the scene from a visual lens, or like how did you even like wrap your head around like the small nuance in the background with the purple setup, and my friend of mine pointed out how deliberate it was when he kept on turning back into a kid when talking to his father at like the right moments.
Yeah, I agree.
Like,
Like I was wondering how they were going to do it too, because I thought it'd be weird to have him as an adult talking to his dad, but they were able to switch it in a way that like worked perfectly.
yeah. And I never thought about this line as much in the film,
Mm-hmm.
but the more and more as time goes on and I get into like conversations with my African American friends,
Mm-hmm.
and for those who don't know, I'm actually Jamaican, so that I have a slightly different reading from things. Uh,
Let me see.
all I can think about is who is lost,
Mm-hmm.
and then like what that really means. And with my African American friend, the same is like Killmonger carries it throughout. There's a deep resentment
Mm-hmm.
to the homeland.
And I think the other half is like there's also this kind of rejection from the homeland, like you're not one of us.
Right, and I think there's such a weird going back and forth with that,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll go there soon because we have to.
Yeah.
But I think when I think of that lost line, and there are two pieces, where it's like, are is it that Killmonger and his father, were they the ones who were lost, or was Wakanda lost?
Right.
And I think speaking with my friend, it feels fair to say that maybe Wakanda was lost, and
Mm-hmm.
that feels like the most transparent, like that. And if that's the story of a movie, like it feels right.
Right. Or even that like Wakanda lost then.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's like, but I think when that lost line is like, it's so much that they're lost as people with no like, with no, it's almost as if they're saying Wakanda has no soul.
Hmm.
By the way, no soul gem to be found in that film. Just saying.
That's hilarious. Wait, you said no souls what?
Oh, there's no. We didn't see the soul
Oh,
gem.
we no, we didn't. We didn't. Okay, I heard something else and then I realized I heard it wrong.
Okay.
Um, we didn't. Although I have a theory. I think. Well, at first I thought that it might be the source of the hearts shaped herbs,
Mm.
because something obviously is fueling that. And then someone else on the internet pointed out that it might be what makes vibranium like vibranium. I think it might be
That might
pouring
be
that.
something. I had a friend of mine say that it might just be somewhere in the mines that we just didn't really get to see yet.
That too. But I know Ryan Coogler, he said that he didn't want to include the soul gem because he felt like vibranium was already special enough and he didn't want to have something kind of like outshine the vibranium, which makes sense, but also it's Marvel, so I'm like, he could just be throwing us off.
there's that. I honestly just also think like you didn't even need to emphasize the soul gem because in either of the movies you just kind of see it and move on. Like
Right.
it's not until I go back to a wiki and be like, oh yeah, that's where that. Oh, that's where that is. Like it's never feels like it's none of the gems feel that important except for maybe in Doctor Strange.
I think so too. The other thing that someone pointed out, which I thought was interesting, was that all the gems kind of have these ties to technology and I guess like
Mm-hmm.
biotechnology. Like one like is Iron Man like creating the vision through technology and the gem. There was something else, another one, and like talking about Wakanda being like the most technologically advanced nation. It's like it could be something like that too. It's probably in Shuri's lab actually.
That's what. Truth be told, that's kind of where it feels like it should just be. It should just be chilling on her, like right behind the sneakers.
It probably is. Like she just has to like, I'll get to that later. Or she's probably already cracked it, like, yeah, I figured this out. Got it.
Can
Done.
we just talk about how she's the best character in the film? By the way,
Yes, she is. I love her character so much.
I know that the internet's riding hard for Killmonger, and I get it, but
Mm.
Shuri is really the best.
You know, I have to give a shout out. Jamie from Black Girl Nerd. She's been writing heavy on a lot of Shuri stuff, and it's been really good. Like she did something for the Washington Post and for the Lily, and
Mm.
both were like major love for Shuri. But yeah, definitely the best character. Like the best little sister.
It
Like
she feels like the most human. Like her and T'Challa, literally for a while, I was just like, I that's literally you. Like it felt like our dynamic to a certain extent.
it did. Like, yeah, like the teasing, the like inside jokes, like it was a perfect brother sister relationship. Like I really felt like they were family. Like people
That
grew up together and like
like the first two scenes with her, like what was it like? I forgot what did he say? Did she ask if he froze as well when he came off the plane?
yeah, he did. She did.
And then she turned around and gave him the middle finger.
Yeah. That was
And
perfect.
and then Angela Bassett was like,
Jury.
exactly, that was great. And then at that ritual, man,
Oh yeah. She's like, can we just wrap this up? This corset is tight. Just-
yo, that interrupt is like, does anyone else want to do it? And then that's literally what she has.
right. That was
Like
I really like when he first comes into the lab and she's like, my king. And he's like, please just stop. Like, what are you doing? And then, of course, the what are those?
can I say how that did not feel out of touch? Like I remember I heard that I felt like I was gonna cringe. I thought I was gonna cringe, but I was just dying to laugh though.
I thought so too because it seems like such an old joke.
Right.
It felt
It
like
is
it should
old.
be like, oh, like this feels outdated. But I realized that even if you don't know about it,
Right.
it still works.
It works. And it's when I think about the film being quote unquote a cultural film,
Hmm.
how do you talk about black culture and not like find a way to throw in some sneaker references, right?
Right. Yeah,
Like it feels too appropriate.
it was. And I think even too, like the fact that he had on those like slippers, which I'm sure is like in African, I know it's like much like a really like big Caribbean thing, and it's also like an African
Yes.
American thing, I think, even to a point like that is a joke I think can be shared amongst like the entire diaspora,
Every
which is also cool.
exactly.
Mm.
And the sneakers component right
Oh
afterwards is
right,
just too like the fact that it's literally like it's too good of a punchline afterwards for me to be mad at
it
it.
was a great punchline. Like you sneak around in it, and they're called sneakers. Like genius.
I do, and I do wish that we got a little bit more of her outside of that, like just being the playful sister component. And
Hmm.
I think most people are happy because she got like a great like action scene towards the end when she started using the
Yeah,
gauntlets, which is awesome.
right. So awesome.
But when I think about the narrative of the story, I don't like she was with uh the queen and Nakia when they went to Mbaku, but I really
Hmm.
don't remember her. Like she was there. I can remember her in my mind of like visually being there, but I don't remember her saying anything. I don't remember her being a part of any of like the key other moments. Do you?
So the only thing that kind of stuck out to me at the one point, the queen asked Nakia to take the heart-shaped herb to
Mm,
ingest it so she can become Black Panther. And in that scene, Shuri is like blurred out behind them.
okay.
And I don't know, it just stuck out to me because I know like she becomes Black Panther at some point in the comics. So my immediate thought was like, wait, why didn't she ask her daughter? But at the same time, I'm like, well, like if Nakia's turning it down, like I don't think Shuri has really had any combat experience like that.
Right. She's
So
younger than Nakia. Like, it's
yeah, so I was just like, it makes sense for her not to ask her, but that I thought was just an interesting scene, knowing what we know and like I don't know,
right. I
that
almost
stuck
thought
out
they
to
were
me.
gonna do it. I almost thought. I was like, and then I caught myself. I was like, it's the first movie. You can't do all of that.
Right, and I mean, it seems like we might get a sequel too, so I definitely think they can do more with her. And I feel like
Yeah.
now, like the other thing is, I don't think they've ever had a war like that before, or like an intruder like
Yeah.
that before. So she never really had, I think, um, not inspiration, but the motivation to like learn how to fight, learn how to defend herself. And now I think
Right.
she probably would get that, and you probably see more of it in a sequel.
Right. And I think that's what people want. I'm just trying to figure out like what can be her like future growth, and I don't know what that looks like because really, at the end of the day, it's only really T'Challa who goes through some kind of like change in perspective.
Hmm.
Because right, like Killmonger doesn't change his perspective at all. Uh Nakia was right. uh yeah, it feels like a lot happened in this movie, but like only one person really got to be different.
Hmm.
But it also feels like I've been thinking a lot about how this comes right after Civil War,
Hmm.
and I know you can't do it on in the movie setup, but it kept on coming to my mind about how well constructed this film is, right?
Hmm.
About like the universe. T'Challa literally has a lesson about revenge and being blinded by
Right.
anger and even righteous anger to a certain extent
Hmm.
in Civil War. He doesn't kill Zemo at the end, and he gives Zemo a lesson.
Zemo.
Yeah, remember Zemo from Civil War, the guy who caused all of that stuff to happen, essentially?
Oh right. I'm just thinking about Bucky, and I'm like, wait, who? I forgot all about that character. Wow. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No, no, that's literally every time I go back to Civil War, that's really the scene. It's the scene of him taking off his mask, talking to Zemo at the end, talking about like how he could be consumed by his anger and whatever,
Mhm.
and like the way that you navigate rage. And then for his first major villain to be a person who's entirely consumed by it. I was like, that's such like a well detailed thing. And
Mhm.
I feel like we don't get enough of T'Challa in terms of like seeing how he empathizes with Killmonger,
I
because I feel like that's an element that he has to speak, and like not even has to speak. Like he was just there, like literally 2 weeks ago. Like literally in the universe, that was you.
I think he did feel it though, because I feel like when he talked to his dad, well, I don't know. I guess it was twofold. Because like I think when he
Right,
went back to the ancestral plains and was asking his dad like, "Why did you do it?" and he's like, "You were wrong." I I
right,
think if any time he would have noticed like why this guy has this like vengeance for them, it would have been there. But I think it was also just feeling a betrayal from his dad.
right. I feel like that was talking more.
Yeah. But I think he. I mean, they didn't show it, but I could totally see him like getting where he's coming from. Because I think that even like at the end, that's why he's like, "Let me show you this sunset right quick." Like,
I mean, that scene is so great. Like, and not even, like I know most people hang on what Killmonger says at the end, and that is a
hmm,
bar. So I'm not going to knock that bar,
right.
but just like from an understanding of like thinking about being diaspora people to be able to go home and literally see in your land in the best of light which you could ever see it. Like,
It means a lot. I mean, I know a lot of people when they go to South Africa and they go to the area where a lot of the enslaved people like last left. That's like in a very
mhm,
emotionally stirring area. I imagine like
exactly.
going back is always going to be feeling like you're going to feel something that kind of captures it.
And, and I think they caught that.
Mm-hmm.
Like they when I think about like the nuances, my friend said something the other day when she talked about they don't have any. He looks like one of ours, but he doesn't. We don't have any records of him. Like if that's not just a full slavery detail description right
Yeah.
there in a heartbeat.
Yep. It was so good. Like it touched on so much more. Like there was also like appropriation, like nods, appreciation, just like
That
from
SoundCloud link is
cast,
still
like
hilarious.
the crew getting like inspiration from actual African cultures.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was really good.
So when you think about, there are two things I want to ask.
Mm.
Going back to the, if you like, I'm thinking about you. Like, how would you feel if you did, if we were to wake up tomorrow and figure out like there was a in an African country that didn't have any of the scenarios? Like, what would you feel like? And in terms of like, would you, what level of anger do you think you'd harbor for them?
You know,
Like,
honestly, I wouldn't feel any anger. Like, I would totally get it. Because I feel like you see what happened to every other country. Like, if one country was able to salvage themselves, then more power to them. That's how I would feel. But then
yeah,
I think at this point, like in 2018, I'd be like, all right, can y'all like help us out now though? You know? Like, I'd be
yeah.
cool with
So
them
that's
like keeping it in house for like all these years and like, all right, we're gonna like become this amazing nation. But then it's like, all right, can y'all help us out though? Now that y'all got it
so.
down.
No, I asked that because I'm like I had a friend of mine who's like, word you didn't do anything through any of life. I'm like, if you see what's actually going on outside, and you're just like, yeah, about dealing with white people, not really about that life. Like, I wouldn't be mad at that. Like, I get it, and I'm not, but it's also like, as you said, there's something about like y'all survived. Like, you'd be proud, right? Like, you're not even just proud. It's like, man, I'm glad you didn't have to suffer with us, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that it led to something where it felt like the obvious thing was to to go back to get Eric.
Right.
Why do you think so? Which way would you describe? Like, what do you think was really going on with his father's heart? I know that for me, when I think about him not picking up Eric, is consistently thinking about probably how he failed his actual brother, and that shame. It was just like I can't do it.
I think so. Um, I think it was a bunch of things. Like, I think the lie that they told was that basically like the brother kind of disappeared and
Right.
they didn't want to bring. But I feel like they could have still brought Eric in, but like, yeah, he disappeared, but he had this kid. I guess it's like, how would you
Exactly.
know he had this kid if he disappeared? um, but the other thing, and then I don't think they realized that he actually like gave Killmonger the I don't know if it's like a tattoo or like the coating basically on their lip.
Uh, is it that they get it or are they born with it?
I think I don't know because like at one scene
Because if
he
he's never been to
tells him
Wakanda,
that's why I gave you a key, and I thought that's why he was talking to about the tattoo.
mm. You want to know the other thing I really wanted to see, by the way?
Mm,
So, I really didn't want to see an ancestral plane moment where Killmonger just gets mad at entire like that entire tree of panthers. Like that's what I really wanted to see.
that would have been really cool too. Like if his dad was like there and had to like calm him down, and he's just like, "Oh, y'all wrong," and basically going at them. That would have been really emotional. But I thought it was
Right.
cool to
And
see like his dad isn't like with the family because he like partially because he betrayed him, partially because he didn't die or he wasn't buried in Wakanda, and yeah, I don't know.
yeah. I feel like there's something there about like seeing righteous anger in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
that I would have appreciated. So those are like some of my nitpicks. I'm surprised that people didn't like the CGI at the end. I see a little bit of what people are arguing, but to be honest, I was, especially when I started seeing the Rhino stuff,
The
I was
rhino.
enraptured with it.
I completely forgot about the rhinos. Like he went up there and he was like, "Don't do it." I'm like, "What you about to do?" He rang that thing, and I was like, "Okay." Like I thought it was like a call to war. I'm like, "Didn't he already do that?" And then the rhino came, and I was like, "Oh, right, the rhinos."
Right, the Rhino, and then you talk about. Can we talk about that car chase for a second? Like, damn,
Whoa, that car chase was amazing.
I don't like car chases, but that was incredible.
I generally like car chases, but that was just like I feel like they used everything. Like there's a scene where Okoye is she kind of like flies out of the car and lands on top of the thing, and she's
Yes.
like kind of like gliding, and her dress is flowing in the air, and it's just like this is the best action sequence I've ever seen in my life. Like it's just like everything.
Can we talk about how like I remember seeing the car chase in like commercials? I was just like, this is gonna be lame. Like this is gonna be a great movie, but that's gonna be lame.
Hmm.
And then you realize that Shuri's piloting it from Wakanda.
Right.
I was like, dear, what?
Yeah.
And then the fact that he literally turned the car, like when you see him in the trailer where he's like trying to use tear off the
Hmm.
tire, I'm just assuming that, oh, that's the car he's trying to chase. When I figured out that he's doing that to his own car to make it like contort in these weird ways, like I was like, dear man, the creativity.
Yeah. Even that too, there was a small part where like she was Sherry kind of rolls over some body. She was like, "What was that?" And he's like, "Don't worry about it." Like that was kind of a little funny moment I thought too. But yeah, I think just like the ideas and the technology were cool. Like, the fact that Shuri can
It,
remotely control other things like that. And then actually interviewed Hannah Beachler, who was the production designer, and she was saying basically that like they use sand as a sort of nanotechnology kind of thing, or
oh, right.
vibranium sand as nanotechnology. And I was just
Is
like,
that what we said at the beginning?
which part? Where when they're on the ship?
No, even before that, when they're doing the whole like this is the history of Wakanda, you kind of see that's.
Maybe I thought that was just like a way of telling it. I
I
don't.
thought so too, but I wouldn't be surprised if it, given how detailed you describe how it is.
It could very well be like there's so much detail in this movies. Like like I said, I interviewed Hannah, and she was just telling me about like how like she even broke down the different ways vibranium can be mined and like processed to like come up with things. And like the Kamoyo beads, like we noticed there's symbols that's based on an actual Nigerian language, and like each of those symbols means something, and like everyone has different symbols on their beads, and like those symbols like each person has different access. Like Okoye can like get into like T'Challa's throne room, but like not everyone can do that. Like your average Joe can't get in there with their Kamoyo beads. So much detail, so much like little things. So cool.
So, the final question: what's your rating of the movie?
Oh man, um, it's funny. Like when I first walked out, I said 9.5. But the more I talk about it, and the more I think about it, and the more I like reflect on it, like I'm leaning more towards 10 lately. But I don't know. I'm planning on seeing it for a third time sometime this week. So I guess I'll see. But yeah, somewhere between a 9.5 and a 10.
If you spoke to me the day I watched, I was at a 10 because
Hmm.
I felt like what they did was kind of unfair.
It was like it was everything.
It was, but I realized how many small things I really wanted to see to like really drive a lot of the points home. Like it had the depth, but at times where I was like, you could have used that to tweak the character arc or small things like that. I ended up back at like a 9, like an 8.89. Like I was like, at the end of the day, I can't lob this over Winter Soldier. Like it is the comparison for me.
Uh-huh.
And if you can't be Winter Soldier, you can't be a 10. Like that's like Winter Soldier's a 10, and every other comic book movie is always going to compete with that.
I think yeah, for me like I love First Avenger and I love Civil War, And for some reason, I don't know. Like, I definitely put Black Panther in either the top two or the top three movies, MCU movies of all time.
Yeah,
And
I have it comfortably at 3. 3 feels right where it should be.
top three, definitely. I'm not sure
Yeah.
where on that list I would place it, but it's definitely in the top three for me.
Yeah.
But like, I know like when I left, there were things that I wanted to. I think some of Killmonger's scenes were a little too much at points.
Are you starting to come over to the? I know a lot of people are coming to the conclusion Michael B. Jordan can't act. Is that where you're going right now?
See, I don't want to say,
Ooh.
I do think he can act, like I do, but like sometimes it felt a little not forced, but it was just too much. I thought, like,
Didn't like the Hey Auntie scene.
Hey Auntie was interesting. I kind of liked it. I didn't like it at first as much, but the second time I watched it, it was kind of like I liked the like kind of injecting the African American culture. I thought that was pretty cool, just to see like the different upbringing, different
Right.
whatever. There was what scene was it that I was just like, eh. Like I love when he's like, nah, I'm just feeling it. Like I love that. Like that's dope. But there is something else. Um, I forgot what he said. Man, I love the scene when he's like burning all the crops, like, and he's just like standing there.
Yeah. And then when he literally turns Wakanda upside down.
Yeah.
Can can we talk about that director? Sorry,
Oh yeah,
that
that scene when he's heading to the throne and like the camera turns around.
like this is the best teaser setup I've ever seen because we've seen a lot of these images before, but when they fit in context, it's a whole different meaning.
That's true. Yeah, I usually avoid trailers, and I think I saw like two trailers or three trailers for this one. And even like they said, like the car chase scene, like I thought like, oh man, like they ruined that for me. But like watching it in context is like, oh, this is so much better than what like I thought it was gonna be. And I thought it was amazing already.
Exactly.
It was a great movie.
Yeah, this definitely like this feels like multiple rewatches forever on Blu-ray.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing we were talking about yesterday, you and me. Bring up again is this probably is the first movie, not the first movie ever, but like definitely the first Marvel movie that I want to buy the Blu-ray or the DVD and like watch all the behind the scenes, all like the extras,
Hmm.
all the like director cuts. Like there's like people say that Ryan Coogler originally his original director's cut was 4 hours long, and I would sit down and watch it with in a heartbeat.
I would watch it. I'm very curious what we missed.
There was, from what I've heard from some of the scenes that he took out, there was more like Dora Milaje interaction. There was some more scenes between, is it with Wakabi and Okoye,
Mukabi.
that kind of showed more of their relationship. Um, what else did I see? I think that's all. I think that's what I heard. And I'm sure there's more. Those are the two I've heard. But just that alone, I'm like, I'm down. I think that's the other thing I missed from the movie. I wanted more interactions between the Dora Milaje. Like Florence barely gets any lines. Oh, that was another thing that was supposed to be there. Supposed to kind of give a nod to her, like um, her being a lesbian. She plays Io, which in like a World of Wakanda,
No, I did not even realize which one was Io because I do not remember her speaking in that film at all.
she didn't.
Like when people said Io was in the movie, I'm like, word, she was.
The only reason I know is because that's her name on IMDb. Like that's the only reason. I think he refers to her as Io one time. Of course, as Io one time, but like none of the Dora Milaje really talk except for like the one who gets killed and it's like Wakanda forever. Like I would have liked to see more interaction between them and just like them. Like even if it's just like a small training session or just something that's just like them being them.
I think, yeah, we could go on for this forever.
Yeah, we could.
I can tell I'm about to like open up another paradigm shift. So what I'm going to do instead is that to keep us on topic while going forward, is there any last things you want to say before I give you this segue?
Um, I think I'm good. I'll tweet about it if I
If
think about
you
it.
if you're if you want to get at us, at Miss Old School.
Yep.
That's where you can find her.
Old school with
Uh, with a K.
it.
I think this is a nice way for you to tell me about what you've been listening to in hip hop, dome.
Right. So, like, the other half of Black Panther, aside from the movie, was the soundtrack album, Black Panther, the album, and produced by Kendrick Lamar and Anthony Top Dog Tiffin. And so, like, when I first heard this was happening, I expected something different.
Mm.
I love what he did, but I really wanted something like boom bap. I was thinking like, yeah, like, because like in the trailer you had Run the Jewels, so that's automatically like, I'm like hip hop album Black Panther, like it's about to be like some real like boom bap, like let's get it, you know. And I think the album it's a little bit more mellow than I thought it was going to be, but I still enjoy it. Like I love all the stars. The video is gorgeous, even though there's like that little controversy about he may have sold that art piece from that lady. Um, and I think like Party On's in yet. Like that's a bop, as people say. You know, I'm an old person, so
I can't believe you just used bop on the podcast.
I know it's my first time. This is our my first bop.
This is the
The
bop podcast from now
only
on.
way I can describe it. And yeah, I like Pray for Me, The Weekend. And I love that he used like a bunch of South African artists. I thought that was cool. But yeah, I definitely wanted some more like high energy stuff. Like I was thinking like Black Thought. I was thinking, what else was I thinking of? Around the Jewels. I don't know. I just wanted some more like high energy stuff. Like this action movie, I wanted more. But I
Yeah,
was happy like, oh sorry.
no, go ahead.
Because they mentioned like some of the songs would be in the movie, and I was like, I was hoping it wouldn't clash, but it worked really well. Like I think they used "Pray for Me" when he enters the casino, which makes sense. And oh gosh, see, I'm just gonna get back in the movie.
Just go for it. I'm not even gonna get mad.
So
Go ahead.
like another thing that was kind of like I guess personal for me because it's set in Busan, and that was an area I spent a lot of time in when I went to South Korea. So that was just like cool just to be like, oh, I was there and just like kind of reminiscing and enjoying that. And like in the fish market they were in is like a really popular fish market, um, which I walked past and drove past while I was there. And I didn't get to explore as much, but just the idea of this being like that area is very much like it's a fish market, you know, like it's loud, it's like there's like dead fish everywhere, like it smells like it's everything you imagine like a fish market would be. So for them to like go through this tent and being like this gorgeous casino, I thought was really cool. Like, and makes sense for like where else would you do like an underground vibranium deal, you know? That was just a really cool concept. But yeah, so them using "Pray for Me" during that scene, I thought like fit right in. Ending with all the stars was perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I wish I could tell you I've listened to it a lot. I haven't. The only times I listen to it right now is when I go in my friend's car and she's just having "Are You on 10 Yet" on repeat forever.
That sounds amazing.
And
Yeah, I need to
I can't
listen to
believe I'm
more.
gonna have this documented for the rest of my life. I
You what for the
forgot.
rest of it?
Is 2 Chainz on "Are You on 10 Yet"? Right? I'm not
Yeah,
crazy with that
you might be right.
because I actually realized I like the 2 Chainz verse. What is wrong with my life?
The gasp. You know, I might too actually, so I can't even say anything.
That makes
Although
me
I
feel a
love
lot better.
featuring, so
Although I
um,
still hate that future verse. That future verse is god awful.
what happened?
The future verse on King's Dead.
Yeah, yeah, it
I
is.
I really want to be in the studio to figure out how in the world you let him walk out with that.
You know, it's probably like I'm gonna try something different. Kendrick's probably like, "Do you, bro? Be your artistic self. Embrace yourself." And
Keep
then,
your artistic integrity.
right, he was just like, "I did it with To Pimp a Butterfly. Maybe you can do it too." And then he didn't do it. Yeah, he just kept it. um, but yeah, I don't know. I did like King's Dead though, aside from that weird like part. But yeah, it's a cool album though. Like I think my general thing for any album. Usually it's like I listen to it, and sometimes I kind of like check out and check back in, and some things catch my eye. But the thing that usually gets me is like if there's any point where I'm just like I need to turn this off, then I'm like I usually don't like the album. But I didn't feel that at any point during this album. I was just kind of like listening to it and enjoying it, and that was that.
Okay.
Anyway, now that we've had like a whole Black Panther podcast, let's talk about the other things that we have to talk about. What have you been listening to? Because I know it hasn't been just Black Panther.
No, it has been Milo's album, which I keep forgetting the name of. Who told you you could think? Yeah, I keep forgetting the name of it. But this album, oh my gosh, there are so many bars,
Mm-hmm.
so many quotables. Like I've been listening to Milo since like 2010. Is that how? Dear God, he has nearly a decade in the game. That's crazy. Uh
Crazy.
I even interviewed him back then. Wow,
Oh
that's a long
wow,
time ago.
we got a link to that. Is that online?
Yeah, it should be.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll throw a link in the show notes. Yeah, why not? I forgot
So
about
wait, is
that.
it Who Told You to Think?
Who told you you could think? I think that's what it's called.
Okay,
Yeah, who told you to think?
got it.
There we go.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just like quickly Googled it.
Uh, man, I'm trying to figure out how even to express. Like, I'm just gonna just list all these bars and just like back on my
Wait it through.
back on my Black Bukowski bullshit. Me and my niggas is a school of thought. Like, hold on, can we talk about that? Like, me and my niggas is a school of thought. Like,
That is really cool. So it's kind of like a school of fish kind of thing, but they're a school of thought.
like,
That
I mean, you talk about how essentially, if you think about like you and your friends, there's a way in which you approach the world and your worldview. Like, to be able to capture that in that way.
that is really dope.
Uh, Another line is like, in my neighborhood has become a poet or a farmer.
Mm.
Like, what is it? The path is littered with many a useless tchotchke. Like, it's just spilling out of this man. Like, nigga, I'm falling apart. It's not so much that the screws is loose. Like,
That's pretty dope. There's a lot of like imagery there that I'm really digging.
yeah. And I had an argument when I was in Jamaica talking about this album and Milo in general. There's a song that he does called Sorcerer. And Sorcerer is very much a, what you call it? It's very much a trappish type of record, but the producer uses these kind of weird off sounds. It's a lot more mellow and relaxed, and Milo's verses are subverting a lot of what you'd get. Essentially, he's injecting himself in the bars. He doesn't have really a hook going on. Like the hook is literally at the like, and that's who Milo is. Like I don't go for Milo for typical song structure. You're barely gonna get it. You're not gonna get any, but it's my friend was like, he's failing at trying to make something mass appeal. I was like, but he's not trying to make anything mass appeal. Like, it's very much trying to inject his language, his way of the world, all into that. Like, it's not important to always follow convention. Like, convention matters in certain senses, but I'm like, it's not by eschewing all these things and focusing on who you are. It allows you to create unique art. And for me, it's just more so like to come up with lines you haven't heard before. That to me is it's like, can you come up with phrases and ideas that have actual meaning but actually be something that you haven't heard before? The novelty.
Lil Wayne. Who hasn't done it? Sorry, go ahead.
I don't have a podcast anymore. I have
I'm
nothing to
saying
say.
Lil Wayne does not do that.
Oh, okay. I thought you said that he was, because I was
Oh
about
no,
to.
no, you know me better than that.
I was really starting to think your Florida was showing.
Well, that's the next thing, but not yet.
No, I think that's a good segue. Tell them how your Florida is showing, please.
So my Florida's a bit showing. You know, if you listen to this podcast, you probably know that I'm a bit of a Drake hater.
A
Um,
bit.
and I'm a proud Drake hater. I'm fine. You know, I'm in good company. You know, our old professor, who's like an amazing hip hop head, also a Drake hater. So I'm good. But Drake recently went to Miami which is kind of like my hometown. I'm from Myanmar, which is kind of like
Purr, 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 purr.
10 to 30 minutes away from Miami, depending on where in Miami you're going. And he stopped by the school and he gave away a bunch of money, basically. Like, I think, so this is for his video, God's Plan. Basically, the concept was his studio, not the studio, his, what are they
Label.
called? Record company? Record
Label.
company, label. They gave him $1 million to shoot this video, but instead of like spending it on like, location shots and probably like stunt cars and, models and whatever else, he's like, I'm gonna give this money out, which I thought was a really cool concept. Like he's Drake, obviously. He doesn't really need like an amazing video to pull off a popular single.
Right.
And this was just like a cool concept in itself. So he kind of still like it was still in a capitalist vein because it's like, of course,
Yeah.
like
You can't get totally mad at the capitalist machine, and that's coming from me.
not at all. I mean, the only thing I have against him is that he probably should have filmed it at Miramar, which is my alma mater. But I'm not hating. And it's also where Moonlight was shot. So our alma mater is
I
pretty.
knew you were gonna bring that up. I really thought you were gonna let that go, but
I'm
you
never
couldn't.
letting that go. And we have an Oscar award-winning film was filmed at my high school. Okay. And it's just I don't know when I saw it. I think because the intro, it's kind of like a black screen with text, and it says like the label gave us $1 million. We decided to give them away. Don't tell them. And it immediately reminded me of Logic because he did a video for Super Mario World, and it kind of starts off with like the black screen and the text, but instead it's like we told this lady like we're so the story was like they told this lady they were high school students doing a project, and um and she believed them, and it wasn't like what you call it, and it turns out like they did it kind of like to avoid paying fees
Mm.
that they would have to pay in order to film there. Um, and she owned like what is it called? I want to say an oil refinery, but I think that might be completely wrong. I'm sorry. But like basically like a big like something for them to that they want to record on, and she let them do it for free. And little did you know that he's like this huge artist who totally could have like paid for it.
When did he do it though? Is it Super? Because Super Mario World is like way back, isn't it?
So the video came out a while ago. That's when he did it. But the lady, after she saw the video, she reached out to them and was like, "Hey, like you lied to me." Like, and basically I can't remember if she's suing them
Mm.
or she's thinking about suing them. But basically, like she came back in the news again because when she like reached out to them, they were like, "All right, we'll work it out." Like this person, it was like around Christmas time, and they were like, "This person's out on Christmas break, but we'll get back to you." And then she's like, "It's been a year and I haven't heard back from them."
Yeah,
So
that's not happening. Probably not.
probably not. Yeah,
But
because
do
they
you
had
like
like
the
a verbal
song?
agreement, which might be a thing, but based on falsities, I don't know. I have no idea.
Do you actually like the song though?
I don't care for it. No, I don't. I just like the concept and the video. I like when I like, yeah, I just like the concept because, but then again, like, because obviously, like, I'm Christian, so I think like God's plan, and it's kind of like seeing how God can kind of use people to, as like for him. But I think with Drake, it's more like I'm God and I'm doing this, So that's kind of like kills that for me because people call him like six God or whatever.
I didn't
It
even
was
think
like his
about that
plan,
part.
huh?
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought about. So like thinking about it the first way, I think is really cool. Just like this is all part of God's plan. Like I became this successful person so I can then help people and be useful.
Mm.
But I think it is more like like I'm God and I'm doing this kind of thing, or maybe it's both.
It might be.
But it
Man,
might be both.
I did Drake. What's wrong with me?
Also true. But yeah, but the song itself, like it's kind of flat. Um, I
Very
don't
flat.
really recall any like standout bars.
There's no.
But I thought it was a really cool concept. So I'll give him things for that. Kudos. What did you think?
This is a perfect example of me liking the idea of Drake, but never Drake.
Yeah, sounds about right.
No, because like you're right. When I watch the videos, like that's nice, that's sweet, that's awesome, that's great to use your platform and all. Like
Mm-hmm.
it works both ways. Of like you gave these people like some financial things that are going to change their life. At the same time, you created a video about sharing and caring, and because you are a multi-million-dollar artist, you have some kind of way to like stir people's hearts to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
You can't like from that perspective, you can't really knock it. I can't.
Yeah.
But there's something not even feels capitalistic, but it's interesting to think about the reactions that people have to money, and I'm also thinking like I I'm trying to imagine myself like if I woke up, if literally I turned around right now and Drake was standing behind me with money to pay my fees, how would I respond?
I'm like picturing this. I kind of want like a animated version of this to happen.
No, because I mean that's what I keep going back to myself because it feel I don't want to say it because it's not manufactured. It's like it's what it's happened. It's how people feel. But there's something about just giving a lump sum to a stranger versus that feels it still feels slightly impersonal. That's all. Like, I think that's what it is. It's not even that I think
Mm-hmm.
anything is fake or it's like even people aren't appreciative because you can tell in the way that people's facial response like they don't know what to say for some of them.
Right. I think.
But it's
Sorry.
go ahead.
No, I mean, I feel like I don't know if it was just me, but like as I was watching it, felt like he was very deliberate about who he gave this money to. Like I noticed he gave it to a lot of people with kids, a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
Yeah. So I was just like, I feel like there was some like not discretion, but like there was some like decision processing of like I'm gonna give this to people, like not just like random person here.
Right. And I think ultimately, and this is also probably the truest thing,
Mhm.
is like there's probably a bunch of people who got money that aren't in that video.
That's true. That is really
Like,
true.
like think about like from when you think about that, it's like it really it shows a charity in a whole different sense.
Hmm.
I just wish the song was good.
Yeah, you should know better than that.
Like, it's not even just the song isn't good. It's like there's no synergy.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there must be another Drake song in his catalog where this fits.
So you basically want to put like a better song in the backdrop of this video.
No, because I'm like, if you're doing a song, if your song was about charity,
Hmm.
then this would be a nice, really nice, good mesh. Or if your song was in like that vein of like I didn't have it, like whatever way you want to spin it. But God's plan is about what woman wanted to cuddle with Drake, and you're just like, nah, not really.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. I just kind of like just listened to the chorus, I guess.
And I think that's why
And I was just like, oh,
people
this makes sense. Like it's all in God's plan.
right. But when you look at the verses, I'm just like, I look back at them and it's like, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe there's something else I'm seeing. Nope.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me. It always bothered me.
Don't pull up and say you have to cuddle with me. Like, what that got to do with the charity, son? Like, what?
Honestly, it always bothered me too. Like reminds me of Chris Brown's video for Yeah Times Three. It's such an amazing video because they're just like he's with these kids and they're dancing and it's like this feel good like block party. But the song is about like clubbing and he's like, yeah, bring them bottles, bring them to me, and the kids are like, yeah, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, no, these kids can't drink alcohol. Or they're not bringing bottles. What are you talking about? It's just like the weirdest
Great.
thing ever to me. So I guess that's kind of
I
weird.
think this is one of those times where it's just like, maybe it's okay, but we just care about the hook.
So maybe, yeah. I think, yeah. Just like blank out everything else. Play the hook and call it a day.
It should have just been an instrumental on the hook and call it a rap.
I know. It should just be like a documentary. And the hook is the intro and the outro song.
That's great.
Yeah. Speaking of Miami, this isn't a smooth transition. I tried.
Go for it. Shoot your shot.
Woohoo! Traveling. Traveling is our theme this episode.
Yeah, we've done. I mean, yeah, we've done a lot of traveling actually over the last 2 months. I think you and I both. You more than I.
I don't know. Well, I mean, you went to Jamaica, so that's pretty big.
Yeah, and I was gone for like what, 3 weeks.
You're gone for a while. I have been doing a lot of traveling, but like not anywhere. Well, I did go to Atlanta for New Year's Eve.
You trying to diss Atlanta?
Hmm?
Word? You dissing Atlanta?
No. Well, I was working for most of Atlanta, first of all, but
Dissing Atlanta?
but it was cool. No, I liked Atlanta. It was really cool. I wish I could have saw more of it while I was there, but yeah, I think yesterday, I realized that I have not been in the same state for like more than a month. Like every like 2 to 3 weeks, I'm going somewhere else for like a while. Like I went to Florida, I went to Atlanta, then I went to DC, then I went to New York, then back to DC, then back to New York. And then I think that's just been my life. I'm thinking about going to Philly on Monday. It's a lot, man.
This is the life that we live.
This is the
But
life that we live.
so for those who don't know, when we have a theme for the week, in this case traveling,
Mm-hmm.
we kind of explore both through our hip hop and nerd life experiences. And if I'm going to be honest with you, when I thought about traveling,
Mm-hmm.
the real answer is Street Fighter 2.
Huh.
Think about like literally one of the games in the Street Fighter 2 pantheon is called World Warriors. It was the first time I ever saw Jamaican representation in any media. And as stereotypical as DJ is of a name for a character who's from Jamaica,
That's kind of hilarious because I know like two DJs who are Jamaican.
yes. And I love, like, I don't, if you think about it, like, if you do play the single player,
Mm.
you always are traveling on the plane. It's like, you're going to India to fight Sagat. You're going to Brazil to fight Blanca. You're going to the US to fight Ken.
All the stereotypical characters.
We
Street
could
Fighter
get
is
into
anything but is consistent, if anything.
it's equal opportunity racism.
Yes, exactly.
But it's also a core of like the Street Fighter thing is that it's very much about trying to find characters to represent a world thing, even though it can lean into like some real weird places. But I think at the same time, there's this, especially coming from like places that are not represented in other media a lot. We sometimes willing to take pride for characters. Like I remember when people looked at there's this new character they had recently, Rashad, or I think it's Rashad or Rashid from Street Fighter Five,
Okay.
and he's very much dressed in like the fact that he can control wind. People are just like, "Word, that's what we gonna do."
Wait,
For a Middle Eastern character, really creative,
that's yeah.
but it's also like
It's Rashid, by the way.
Rashid. Thank you, but it's also like he's kind of cool looking.
Okay.
He's kind of a cool. Like it becomes one of those things where it's like, I had someone say something about Punch Out. I think it's Gajin Goomba said a few years ago, and I think I'm leaning towards this a lot more. Is that if when you're using stereotypes, are you portraying the person as a positive person or as a negative person?
Mm-hmm.
And if your stereotypes are to portray this person of someone who like you'd actually like and have appreciate, and not in a condescending manner, then you can't. People are willing to let certain things go,
Hmm.
and I think that is very important a lot of times. And then yeah, I think about traveling about how do you think about yourself, how do you think about other people, and how do you connect with people, and how you when you come back to wherever home is, what do you say about the people that you interacted with?
That's really deep for Street Fighter.
I mean, the way of the Hado is deep, okay?
Apparently, Hadouken. um, I immediately thought about when we talked about travel is I just watched a Netflix show Altered Carbon, which kind of delves into like not necessarily time travel, but time travel in a way. So basically, it's about these characters who have these discs put in the back of their necks that record basically like their consciousness or store their consciousness and their memories. And so if their body dies, and as long as the disc isn't um, damaged, they can transfer that disc into a new body and you can like kind of walk and talk in that body. Like basically, you can have immortality
Mm.
if you so choose. Um, and it's kind of weird. Like there is a bit of whitewashing, which almost made me not want to watch it. But they did give so basically like shows about an Asian guy who um, he becomes like this thing kind of called an envoy, which is a person who like can be very like sensitive to other people, like intuitive and kind of what's the word when you like it starts with an E. Ah,
Empathetic.
empathetic. Thank you. So they're kind of like that, and but he like they take him down, like he dies, and or so he thought he dies, and then his disc is transferred into another person's body like 300 years later. So he wakes up like 300 years after that initial thing, and it's like, where am I? What is this? Like, what's going on?
Mm.
Um, so it's really interesting, but he wakes up in a white guy's body, and the white guy is kind of like the protagonist. So it's kind of like this guy who started out Asian gets his consciousness transferred to a white guy. So it's like, oh, just another reason for you guys to make a white guy the protagonist. Cool. But they do like do a lot of flashbacks to the Asian guy,
Okay.
and so he
So it's not like he just gets one episode and it's done.
right. So that's
Right.
kind of what made it a little bit better, even bad. And I was hoping
I like how both of our traveling have this kind of like weird issues about race tied to
that's
it.
true. I didn't even realize that they do. But yeah, and like so, I mean, he doesn't get as much screen time, but he does get a good amount of screen time. So I was like, all right. And then there's like a Latino woman, there's a black woman, there's two black women actually. So I'm like, all right, there's some diversity. Plus, it's just an interesting show. Like, I love detective series. I love solving mysteries, and it kind of had those tidbits of it in it. So, like that, of course, will keep me like intrigued. So it's basically kind of like basically this guy, one of the guys who's the one who actually brought him back to life. He believes he was murdered, but all the evidence points to him committing suicide. And basically, he wants
Mm.
this like envoy to solve it for him because he's like, I would never kill myself because I'm like strong willed. And he kind of has this, he's like super rich. So he has this thing that backs up all of his memories. And whoever killed him, like, killed him right before the next update. So he like doesn't remember that like 48 hours.
Mm.
So it was just like a really interesting, like that immediately grabbed me. It's kind of like a Blade Runner esque um, surroundings, like setting. The idea of like transferring your consciousness was interesting. Uh,
Would you, if you were to be told that you could transfer your consciousness 500 years in the future as like to travel away from this time, would you do it?
um,
Guaranteed you actually are still a black woman when you, but just not your
that would
body.
be a really big decider. I don't know if I'd do it now, but if I when I got older, I'd probably do it. Like once I've lived my
Okay,
life,
so
like I feel like I'm more invested in spending time with the people I've built relationships with right now and enjoying that
right.
than like seeing the future in 500 years. Because for all I know, I could wake up in an
Okay.
apocalypse. I'm like, damn, I should have just hung out with my mom and dad. Would you do it?
I might actually, now that I think about it.
But you know,
Yeah.
you would still have those few months for your doctorate.
I hate you. Anyways, you know, this is actually a good segue because I thought about this in hip hop too. And I want to think of a song called Python by
Hmm.
CJ the Genesis. And I think this is on this Impulse album. And I remember texting him one day about what does this mean? So he travels to this place and there's like eternal peace. He falls in love with an alien and it's like he's at this like great moment in his life and then he can only stay there for like I think it's like a week or 2 weeks and then he has to leave. And I was just like, okay. And it was a good story. I just sat down and trying to figure like, why did you call this? Like, what is going on here? Because I could tell there's
Mhm.
something else going on here. And I remember I sent CJ a text. I was like, yo, I've been sitting down this for like two
Can I
months. What does
just
this
point
even
out how
mean?
cool it is that you can listen to a project and then text the rapper and be like, hey, what does this mean? I wish I could do that for so many things, but okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. And he was like, yo, take the letters in Python and rearrange them. I was like, I hate you.
Happy.
That's such a good idea.
It just
Exactly. And just like this idea of like you can only travel to this space of being happy and only be there for like so long before you just get dragged back into reality.
That's awesome.
I was like, damn, that's a cool concept.
That is an amazing concept, man. I need to like go check that out like ASAP. That's so smart too, like
Yeah.
rearranging it like that. It was funny. I was just playing that game. I think it's like Bumble, not Bumble. The one where like they give you like letters like that and you have to rearrange them. Forgot what word it makes.
Oh, I think I have it on my phone. It's called Wordscape.
Maybe I've been playing it like on actual paper with like newspapers. We call it
Oh,
something
okay.
else.
Word scramble.
Yes, I don't know where I got my word from, but yeah, word scramble basically. Um, so yeah, I was happy I was able to get happy.
Yeah, I was like, damn, and it fits the theme. And I was just like, you think about like when we travel, we can only be gone for so long before we have to get back to regular life. I was like, damn, that's such a good concept.
Really great concept, especially like yeah, dealing with love too. I think that's could deal with that too. Just the fact that like you can be in love with someone for 2 weeks and then kind of like come back to the reality of them and like, oh wait, this was just like a fling or something. Hmm, that's cool, man.
So if you guys have not listened to CJ's Impulse album or Pyfo, go do that.
Definitely, especially with that concept, the genius. Um, Speaking of geniuses, though, I immediately thought. So first, I thought travel, and I thought of people's instinctive travels in the paths of rhythm. It's just like travel, travel. And then while looking at that album, I realized that like a Tribe Called Quest is really just like a traveling theme in itself.
Yeah, I think the track called Footprints really talks about that in a certain
Or even
sense.
like Left My Wallet is like about them like kind of you know like traveling and leaving his wallet, or even like a war tour, him being on this like mission or this tour around the world, just like him traveling, like or them traveling. Like it's a lot of that. Even on Beats, Rhymes, and Life is the travels of a Tribe Called Quest. Like there's a lot of traveling in a Tribe Called Quest that I just never realized before. Um, and then what else was there? I should have pulled up the track list, but yeah, just like realizing that, and it's just like a lot of their songs is about like being on a journey, and I never really realized how much of a theme that was in their music, just like taking you on stories, bringing you through this experience, going on journeys, um, sharing these stories. But yeah, that's what I thought of was Tribe.
That's nice. I have to spend some more time with it to even to
I think
speak.
like marauder means like something
Yeah,
like a traveler or something too, or
yeah,
a raider. Never mind, that's different. But
it's a good
yeah,
pick. I like that.
thanks.
See,
But yeah, even yeah, I
you
mean
the
they're
jizzle.
like a marauders. I guess they could be a whatchamacallit too. I think like the idea of a midnight marauder is someone who kind of like robs and like loots and then
Yeah,
goes to the next town kind of thing.
yeah. See, this is why you the jizzle.
I'm not. You're the person who figured out happy.
No, I wasn't. CJ told me. Let's be very clear.
You're the person who found out.
But yes, you the jizzle. I'm like, I'm the pros. You the jizzle.
Nah. But you got is coming out with a fun fact autobiography, and I kind of want to read it.
Let's figure out how we're going to get to talk about it on that podcast because that sounds fun.
Right? It sounds really interesting. I got a
Have
press
you ever?
release from them, and I was just like, I kind of want to read this.
Did you ever get to read any of the RZA books?
No, I have two of them, but I
The
have not.
Tower of Wu.
Hmm?
You have the Tower of Wu.
Yeah, I have the
Okay.
Tao Blue, and I have what's the other one I have? Maybe that's the only one I have. I thought I had
Okay.
another one. But yeah.
So we have our what question of the month.
What? So our
And
what question is, what fictional world would you like to spend a month in?
me and Victoria talked about this for a little while, and we were like, we don't want to live in any anime worlds. It's just really that simple. Like,
Yeah.
it's just that. It's just too dangerous in most of them.
Anime is super dangerous. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, even like I love Sailor Moon, but I would not want to live in that world. Like, people getting attacked by random monsters on a daily basis. Like, I'm good. I don't want a monster of the week in my life.
That, yeah, it's like, even, I mean, in other scenarios where, like, it's really living in high school again, I'm like, I'm cool with that.
That's true too. Or even like you brought up like Hunger X Hunter's Greed
The Greed
Island. Like
Island.
it'd be fun, but there's some like serious complications with that. Like, what if you don't make it out?
These are the realities. So my final answer was Thor's Asgardia. As crazy as life gets,
Mm-hmm.
and it'd be worth risking life or death just to walk around Asgard and to chill in their library. Cause that library in the Jason Aaron run was so cool, so cool. And that's all, like, to think about it, that's all I really want to travel and see. Like, I'm not a huge reader like Miss Old School is, but there's something that's like super intriguing about like old mystical books. Like, I get goosebumps sometimes.
I love books. I don't know if I call myself a reader, but I am a book collector.
The
I need
book
to read
collector.
more. The book collector. I actually did end up with an anime, which I was kind of surprised. Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. It is an adorable anime series. I guess it's also manga, so I can choose that too. Um, yeah, like it's just really fun and cute, and dragons are actually nice. Apparently, I think it was kind of like a grown up. I mean, it's not that, but like I used to love Dragon Tales, and I feel like it's like a grown up Dragon Tales of sorts. It's like, oh, I can like kind of like hang out with dragons, but we can drink alcohol. This is cool,
That sounds like a real dream. Now I understand why
right?
you want to take some drinks with some dragons. I ain't mad at you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hmm?
Now I was gonna say, if you audience members have a place that you'd love to live for a month, that is also keeping. It is only for a month. Where would you like to live? In which fictional world?
Exactly. Yeah, you can get us at Nerds on Hip Hop, or you can just tweet and do the hashtag Nerds on Hip Hop. Of course, like Marcus is the Wolves Den 25. I'm at Miss Old School with a K. And so, yeah, let us know. Where would you like to go?
And normally we'd end here, but we got something else. It's our first episode of the year,
See
and we're
you.
gonna keep this tradition going, which is what was our New Year's resolutions from last year for hip hop and nerddom, and what are our new ones?
Yep. So,
So,
go, go,
should
go.
I go first?
Yeah, why not?
I said I was gonna buy the entire Tribe Call Quest discography. That did not happen.
Please.
I was on a good roll. I have I have four of them now, right? I have People's Instinctive, Low End Theory, Midnight Marauders, and then You Got Me. We got it from here. Thanks.
Yay.
So I'm still missing Beach Rhyme and Life, which I'm the most excited about.
Mm.
And then I'm also missing what's up? Love Movement.
All right. I feel like you're going to like that a lot.
I'm looking forward to that. I was supposed to buy some manga series. I was too broke for that. I did not play Ocarina of Time. My time did not play off for me well. No pun intended. But I did beat Dragon Quest V.
Yay.
And my 2018 goals is a lot less.
Ooh.
I'm going to play Ocarina of Time. I'm almost done Bravely Second. Like, I'm near the last boss. So I'm like, I'm just there. I'm almost there. So I can start Ocarina of Time sometime this year. And then I want to do one long anime. It's not going to be One Piece before you object. I know you. We had this conversation on Twitter. We had this conversation on Facebook.
It is.
Everyone's trying to get me to do it. No.
You're good.
I almost thought it was going to be Toriko, but the first 2 episodes were painful. So I don't know what it's going to be, but it's not One Piece.
I'm so sad. I'm
I mean, I was planning to look.
One Piece. Yeah, sorry, Ed.
Go ahead.
I said I'm actually almost done with One Piece. You can do it. It's possible.
I'll probably get my degree before I finish One Piece.
So what do you have
And then
planned for 2018?
Go ahead.
So what do you have planned for 2018?
Finish Ocarina of Time, or actually play it.
Mm-hmm.
Do one long anime, which I'm leaning towards JoJo Bizarre Adventure. That's where I'm going right now, mentally. And then I want to listen to more Southern rap from like the 90s. And like, so that involves 8 Ball MJG. That involves doing more UJK records. Do like old 3-6. Do all of the Goody Mob albums. Do this more Scarface solo albums. Like, I want to really get a better understanding of that landscape to work against my East Coast hip hop bias that sometimes exists. Sometimes.
It's easy to fall into. Huh. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's really I'm gonna double check this right quick. Yeah.
What about for you? What were your 2017 goals?
So I wanted to read more indie comic books, which I want to say I did, but mostly because I think all I read are indie comic books. Although I did read some Marvel and DC stuff too. Like I read Deathstroke Rebirth, I read the Vision comic.
Shout outs to Sage.
Shout outs to Sage. And I read Infinity Gauntlet, I think this year. Yeah, I think it was this year. So yeah, so I mean, there definitely was a mixed bag, but I definitely did read more indie comics. Of course, I stayed with my saga. I read more Bitch Planet. I read I Hate Fairyland still. Got into Tuskegee Airs, Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer. So I think I did a pretty good job with that.
Okay.
I was supposed to split mediums into different parts of the year, where I would spend like 3 months on TV, 3 months on films, 3 months on comics, 3 months on novels. I started out pretty good. And then I think at some point I just started mixing everything up. But I did make a dent.
Put the lime in the coconut.
Hmm?
Put the lime in the coconut.
Put the lime in the coconut. I like that song. But I did make a dent though. Like I said, like I'm finally almost done with One Piece. I probably could have finished last year, but I kind of got One Piece fatigue and had to stop for a bit. But I have like
Oh, so
80
it's not that
episodes
good.
left. Anyway, um, I did finally finish some shows, which was kind of cool. And I started some new ones and finished them, like Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. What else did I watch? I did. Huh. What else did I watch? Well, I watched Neo Yokio. That was interesting. I'm like looking at my list right now. I finally watched Lovesick, which was amazing. I watched Glow. Yeah. So yeah, so I did get to like knock off some things that I've been waiting to read and watch and listen to, but I definitely could have done a lot better. And I think I wanted to keep up with the newer stuff. I don't know actually. I don't know what I meant by that, but I don't think I did that either. But for this year, I do want to watch more anime. So it's interesting. So there's like this whole thing going about right now where like people just figured out that Michael B. Jordan is like an anime fan, and someone was calling for oh, it was actually Jamie from Black Girl Nerds. She was calling for an anime expert to interview him for the podcast, for her podcast, and I was like, man, like I know a lot of anime. I've watched anime for a long time, but I don't know if I'd call myself an expert. And then I realized, like, I don't know if I could call myself an expert in any medium, really. Like, I think the closest thing is maybe hip hop, and I wouldn't call myself a hip hop expert at all because there's a lot of stuff that I just don't know from age and just lack of knowledge.
Do you think you're kind of a master of multiple trades?
I wouldn't even say
Well,
that.
not even like not master, but like a jack of multiple trades, but not a master in one.
Yeah, I think that's what I am. Like that's totally like I dabble here, I dabble there. Like I'm watching anime, I'm watching Korean dramas, I'm watching Japanese dramas, I'm watching British shows. I'm like getting into Image Comics and like other independent comics and Marvel and DC, and I'm watching like sci-fi and romance and like I'm all over the place. Like I'm watching Scandal and like the Full Metal Alchemist film live action. Like I'm just all over the place. So I think I'm definitely like a dabbler. Like I just kind of gravitate to whatever I think is would be good, or like oh, like I keep hearing about this, let me check it out. And but I don't think I can really like hone on one thing. Like oh, I know about this like in and out. Like I've seen everything that matters in this genre or in this medium. And like it just
Interesting. So, do you really want to do if you had to pick one medium to do that in? What medium would that be?
I'm leaning towards anime just because I think it's
Really?
the easiest. If that makes sense.
I definitely don't think that. I think
It's
that's the
probably the
hardest
most time consuming, but I think like
for sure.
it's the easiest as far as like I know the players. Like I know what anime I'd have
Okay.
to watch in order to be like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, like I feel like I'm in a good place now. Like you have to watch like all the major, like the three shonen that are like huge right now. Um, Naruto, Bleach, One Piece. You have to watch Dragon Ball Z. I've seen um, probably Dragon Ball Super, and then like going back, I'd probably watch like Case Closed and Um, I'd probably rewatch Inuyasha because I kind of like skipped around in that. Like when it was on Toonami, I would just like watch it when it was on, but never like fully through. Um,
Right. Now you've already
yeah,
seen
I've seen
Bebop.
Bebop,
You've seen
I've seen
Naruto.
Brotherhood, I've seen Death Note, so I've seen like a lot of the staples. I feel like just because like I feel like if you ask someone like what anime or what films like do I need to watch in order to be like a film person, like there's probably a list, but everyone would have a different list ish. I feel
I think films is part of the thing, but you probably, if you did a lot more films, you'd probably be a lot closer to be able to do a lot more stuff. Because I'm like, you've probably done a lot of the Ghibli stuff now that I think about it, but I don't think you've done a lot of like Satoshi Kon or stuff like that. I think if you were able to really like fix that, you'd probably be in a lot cooler space.
That's true. I wasn't thinking anime films. I was thinking more like just like live action American films, I guess, to be more specific.
Oh, I wasn't thinking that either. I was just more so thinking of just anime films in general.
Oh no. I was thinking of like just regular films. Or not regular films, but American
Oh,
films.
okay.
Yeah. But anime films would be interesting too, I think.
Yeah.
Because I still need to see like The Girl Who Left Through Time and like that whole that whole thing. Because he did something else. Yeah, I still haven't seen The Boy and the Beast
Boy and the
either.
Beast is crazy.
I need to watch that
Wolf
like
Children is
ASAP.
crazy. Mamoru Hosada is Mamoru Hosada is a yeah, sorry. I'm not gonna gush right now.
So yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. So I think I would like to focus on one thing. Oh, and I need to play either Hotel Dusk, which you got me, thank you, or Dragon Quest, so I can talk to you about it, which I got for Christmas. So I need to beat one of those games this year before I buy another 3DS game.
Yes. I think we've come to the close of today's episode.
Yeah, we did it. We did it. We did it. We did
I
it.
hate that that's exactly what went through my mind.
It was the perfect segue.
So thank you for listening to Nerds on Hip Hop.
Thanks, guys. Like we said before, if you want to ask us any questions, you can send us tweets by using the hashtag nerdsonhiphop, or you can email us at nerdsonhiphop@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter now and at nerdsonhiphop. Very easy. And if you want to follow Marcus, he's at where are you at?
The Wolves Den 25.
Yay! And I'm at Miss Old School. And yeah,
And Vicky Tsukino on Instagram.
and Vicky Tsukino.
So let's not forget that. Oh, slight plug. My beat was used in Mike Seatown's video of Jedi Mind Tricks
Woohoo!
recently. So yeah, sorry. Just wanted to plug myself a little bit.
Do it. Plug yourself. But yeah, that was awesome.
Thank you guys so much for spending time with us. We look forward to another great year with you guys. If Sayonara, son.